Hello, Paul with RGS Restorations, and you're looking at a piece of history that's so rare there's probably fewer than a few thousand left that are in shootable condition. This is the 1867 Rolling Block Navy pistol, and ammunition for it is completely and utterly obsolete. But this video is not about an antique 50 caliber handgun. This video is about solving a problem that plagues every antique firearm owner that wants to be able to shoot their firearm. And it's the absence of ammunition or any kind of specifications in brass that are going to allow you to reload for this and shoot it. Today, I'm going to show you two essential techniques that are going to allow you to be able to load for any caliber, whether it's obsolete or even current. And that's going to work for both handguns and rifles. And that technique is going to be slugging the bore and taking a chamber cast. Those are the two key secrets that are going to unlock the ability to be able to shoot an antique firearm. So let's get started. All right, so like I had said, this is the model 1867 Remington Rolling Block, and it's a 50 caliber handgun. Now, the exact caliber, there's a little bit of a confusion when you go online and you start looking for it. It technically is, I believe, what they called the 50 Navy. There was also a 50 Army, a completely different caliber by all rights from what I have found. There's very little information that's of any use for this gun online, which is why we're going to go and look at what it takes to be able to shoot it. Now, this particular firearm I've had for a little while, and I've kept it because it has a really good bore in it. It's pretty minty, and I'll show you what that looks like on this video as well. And I always like to keep firearms that have good bores because I figure, well, obviously they should shoot well. But as far as getting ammunition or even basic brass, this just doesn't exist. So I had known that this caliber is basically based off of the 50 government case, albeit a lot short. And when I did some research trying to find dimensions on it, it really wasn't anything that was very clear on any level. So I thought, well, that's an idea for a great video to be able to take something that you really don't know or you can't get your hands on the specs and you don't know what they are, to be able to figure out how to basically reverse engineer and reverse calculate to be able to get a shooting usable round. And like I said, on this one, we're going to be starting with the 50 government cartridge. All right, so I'm going to go through a certain sequence of events here that's going to give us all the information that we need. And I'm going to want to know the bullet diameter, the head diameter, the neck diameter, the case length, rim thickness and rim diameter I can all get, but that's really not going to come from the casting. That's just going to be actually taking some measurements. So as I had mentioned, these bullets that I have on hand, they're going to be pure lead, and they are going to be for the modern revolver calibers. And they're going to be a little bit smaller. So I just take these things, I'll put them in a vise, and I'll squeeze them lengthwise just a little bit to get them to pop up. And that's really all I care about here is I don't care about concentricity. That's irrelevant. I just want it larger than the groove diameter. So this thing is coming out, somewhere around like 5/18 or something like that. And that's going to be pretty much all that we need. Yeah, I'll just go down the muzzle. So this is a lubricated bullet, and I have a plastic mallet. And that was a giant mess. And all I want to do is just get it in there. I probably squished it a little bit more than I needed, but that's all right. So I'm going to take a wooden dowel and I'm going to pop that back out of there. Now this hammering on here may seem a little brutal, but again, this is just a nylon hammer. All right, this hammer, I will be right back. Okay, something I needed to grab was just a little bit more useful for what I'm doing here is just a a little ball peen hammer. All right, so we have that out of there. Let me get these lead shavings out of here because it does not look pretty. So here's our slugged bullet, and that definitely was into the grooves and into the bore and filled out perfectly. So we're just going to take a micrometer and we're going to measure what our groove diameter is. And on this, it's pretty big. We're coming out to about, gosh, 517, something like that, 515, 517. And I'm not going to worry about that even if we have a smaller bullet. It's going to be just fine. We're going to use pure soft lead, and a fast charge powder will obturate that bullet and, you know, knock that up and fill that out just fine. So anyway, our bullet diameter, we're going to call it 517. And so now we have our groove and bore. Bore is not an important part of it, just the groove. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a chamber cast. And I talked about this in another video. This is a 375 chamber on a Marlin, and I showed a video of that. Then this product is called Cerrosafe. You can buy it from online gunsmithing supply places. It's pretty common and easy to get, and it works perfectly for what we're doing. I know I had them somewhere. And I am going to take just a patch. I'm going to fold that, and I am going to put that in the muzzle, and I want to go just where the chamber ends on here, and I will probably end up getting a little bit of the rifling, and that's okay, because that'll be a secondary measurement for our groove. But I don't want to get a whole lot into the rifling. If you get a chamber cast too much into the rifling, especially on smaller diameter cartridges, it can get very difficult to knock that casting back out of there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up. It melts at a very low temperature, and you'll see that. And I'm going to take a chamber cast. Okay, you don't have to get this stuff crazy hot. There is no need for that. And I'm going to fill this up to the rim cut. And it hardens pretty quick, so. All right. Set that off to the side. So now we have our chamber, our Cerrosafe in our chamber, and we can knock that out. Okay, so I finally got it. Part of the problem why I was having so many issues is some of the Cerrosafe leaked past the patch, and I didn't see it, and that is what created a bit of the problem. But anyway, here is our chamber cast of our chamber, and we should have a good showing of that on our camera. And again, we can take, since we do have a little bit of the barrel section here, we can measure it back here again, and yeah, pretty much same things. 517. Maybe even just a tad bit bigger, and that's not surprising on these old things. They are quite large. So the important parts here that we got and that we want are going to be this section right here where it filled up on the rim, right in here, and I can measure forward of that and then add our rim thickness into it, and that will give us our overall case length. And I can start recording those numbers and show you what those all are. So near the base of the rim at the head, we have 568. Our neck diameter should have just the slightest taper to it. 540, like 540. And I'll get a close-up of this so you can see exactly what these look like. And by the look of this casting, there is a tiny, perhaps a tiny portion where it's bottlenecked. I don't even know if I'd call it bottleneck. It's really tiny. But anyway, it's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my mic is zeroed out, and I'm going to measure from the front of this edge where it caught in the chamber to where you can clearly see the case of the case mouth is, and that's coming in at 9, we'll call it 970. And we know that the rim thicknesses on these are about 65. So we're looking at our overall length of a case is about 1 inch 35 thousandths. We have our head diameter, our neck diameter, we know our rim diameter and our rim thickness just because of what we know that it's based on the 50 caliber. So those are kind of set. We're able to use that as our parent case. And we have our groove diameter for our bullet. So with all that, now all we have to do is basically trim it down to the correct length that we want, and we'll be good to go. Okay, for brevity's sake and to save a little bit of time here, I went and I took a bunch of most of the length off of it with power ahead of time, or before I went and did the final trimming by hand. It's gonna take a long time to knock down a 50 cal rifle to these little bitty things. So okay, so we have our case trimmed to the overall length that we want. Now we're going to deburr it inside and outside. So now it's time to figure out what our powder charge is. And first of all, what are you going to use for a powder? You can use black powder. That is always the safe alternative for one of these older guns. Today I am going to calculate what to use for Trail Boss, and I'm going to use the method of determining a powder charge as published by Trail Boss on the website. And that is going to be basically you find the depth of your bullet in your case and you fill your powder up to the base of the bullet, and that is your full charge. 80% of that is going to be your starting charge, and that's probably where I'm going to start out with this one here. So we're just going to see where we're going to roughly seat our bullet on the case. We'll just make a little mark. Pen's not the perfect tool for this, but that's all I need to do is just have a little something there that's going to show. So now I am going to take some of the Trail Boss, and I'm just going to fill the case up. And this stuff is very bulky, and it's very light, so it takes quite a bit of it to come up with the desired weight. Now I know how far I want to go up that case with that powder, so I'm just going to get it to that level where it's level with the base of the bullet. And I'm going to call it good, and that should be it right there. Wait for a scale to zero out, and I'm going to weigh that powder charge. So I'm looking at 6.7 grains of powder. All right, 6.7 was roughly where we calculated our full powder charge. I'm just going to go with 4.7 for no other reason than it's a round number. So I'm going to put 4.7 grains in there. Now, normally I'd use a powder measure, but since I'm doing one off here, I'm just gonna do this as perfectly fine to get one round. So there's 4.7 grains of Trail Boss in our case. And there we go. And all we have to do is take our bullet and we can seat it in there, push it in there as far as we want. I'm just going to push it in by hand a little bit. And there we have it. This is our bullet, our cartridge that we came up with after we went through the process of slugging the bore, taking a chamber cast, taking our dimensional readings, and seeing what we have. And that round should fit in there absolutely perfectly fine. And we are good to go. So there we go. There is our finished cartridge case for our 50 Remington Navy, an absolute obsolete caliber that no longer exists and no hope of buying ammunition for it. And you can easily make it by just doing a few simple techniques such as slugging your bore, figuring out what it is, and then taking a chamber cast and reverse engineering your cartridge off of that. And so now that we have our finished ammunition, let's take it to the range and see what it will do for some groups. All right, so this is a shot of the 50 Navy at 30 feet, and we'll see what we can do. I'll just put 5 rounds down there, see how it goes. Well, the trigger pull on this thing is absolutely terrible. The fact that I can hit the target at all. It's exhausting shooting this thing. Alright, that's 5 rounds at 30 feet and with the 50 Navy Remington Rolling Block. I'd like to take just a quick moment to thank everybody for watching our videos and helping to make our channel a success. We absolutely appreciate every one of the likes and subscribers that we get, and just want to let everybody know that goes an awful long way to making our channel successful. Thanks again. There's our range results of our Remington Rolling Block 1867 Navy pistol. And we put that together with starting out with not a whole lot of stuff to be able to get in a, to accomplish a finished round. We took our parent case, which was a 50 government or 5070, and we took a chamber cast, and that gave us all of our needed dimensions on case length, the diameter of the base and the neck and the rim thickness. All can be had by measuring, well, the rim thickness part can be had by measuring the actual pistol. And then we took a lead bullet and we slugged the bore, and that gave us our groove diameter. So with all that information combined, we were able to put together and manufacture our finished ammunition to be able to shoot something that is, well, for all purposes, completely obsolete. So it's pretty interesting when you can take something this old and this antique with, a cool history and be able to actually shoot it, which is what they were designed to do. Now, the results at the range, I'm surprised they were actually as good as they were. The trigger pull on this thing is 16 pounds. And how do I know it's 16 pounds? I took my NRA pistol weight, which is calibrated, and I kept taping together chunks of lead ingots, and the trigger finally would break at 16 pounds. And I actually measured the tape as well and the weight of the tape. And it was like really close within ounces of 16 pounds. And that is after I shimmed the mainspring on it to get it to be a little less powerful already than it was. If I were going to shoot this more, I would probably look into maybe making a new mainspring and making it much, much less powerful than it is. These things are terribly powerful, and there's just really absolutely no need for it, and that's part of the reason of what's causing that really, really hard trigger pull. And 16 pounds on a pistol is extreme. But anyway, that's the way they made them years ago, and that's what we worked with. So that I think all seemed to work out pretty good using, very basic equipment and procedures to be able to put together a working round. So hopefully you enjoyed all of this. If you have any questions or comments on calibers that you have did casting on, that are obsolete, and you want to share those in the comments below, feel free and share your experiences with that. So until we see you again at the range next time, take care and happy shooting.